With the Rust Belt teams, let's go to Detroit now, where Jared Goff got a 4-year, $212 million contract extension earlier this week. Marcus, can the Lions win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff?
This is an analogy I'm going to make, guys. When you mess up, your actions is what regains trust as opposed to what you say. And I used to tell Dan Orlovsky all the time, I do not trust Jared Goff. I trust him now.
Okay.
I trust him now. He had a phenomenal year last year, but more importantly, there were 2 throws made in the NFC Championship that should have took the Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl last year that were dropped. And I think Jared Goff in those moments proved more than anything. He was in a high leverage moment against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoff game. He was in a high leverage moment on the road in San Francisco and made the plays necessary to put his team in the big game. He just needs his wide receivers to come through. I trust him because of his actions, not because of what Dan Orlovsky said.
It's amazing to me. It's amazing.
I was the one telling you to trust him.
Well, no,
catching shrapnel over there.
What's the only thing at your age you won't trust?
Anyway, Adam, what were you saying?
It's amazing to me how much support he's generated within that organization and within that city. He's beloved in that city in a way that Dan Orlovsky never was.
Wow, Orlovsky just sitting here catching.
Shefty, that's twice. That's twice.
I love Shefty so much.
Me?
Okay, let's talk about this. You absolutely can win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. There's not a doubt in my mind. I think that's pretty, I always like when someone can admit they were wrong, Marcus Spears, and I think that, I respect that, saying that he said that he didn't trust Jared Goff before, and now he does, and that he made a couple big throws that should have brought them to the Super Bowl, which I agree. I really, truly think I'm going to annoy some 49ers fans, but I said this last season when the game finished, that that the Detroit Lions lost that game more than the 49ers won that game, and that they absolutely they could have went to the Super Bowl. They should have gone to the Super Bowl. And I think they could have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I really, really do. And I think this year definitely is Super Bowl or bust. And I don't mean bust as in like you got to blow up the team, but it's just like that is the expectations. If you are a Detroit Lions fan, the expectations is to not only get to the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl. Because this most likely will also be the last year that the Lions have Ben Johnson. And it can't be understated how great of an OC that he is. And it's amazing that he stayed. Amazing. And it speaks volumes that he gave up multiple head coaching jobs to stay with Detroit. That means a couple things to me. One, he really, really believes in what Detroit can do and wants to continue to be with, especially like a Jared Goff and all the weapons that they have. As well as he's unwilling to take a lower job with, say, like the Seattle Seahawks, or I think he was up for the Washington Commanders, whatever it may be. I forget exactly the teams. I know Seattle was one of them. And he was like, nah, I'm not doing that. So that's also the confidence that he has in himself, knowing that he's more than capable of getting a better job with a better quarterback, a better position, a better situation. And so I really think that, again, this will make some Lions fans unhappy, but like you most likely will see some degree of a step back once you lose Ben Johnson, most likely. That is just the risk you have and the unfortunate situation you have when the true offensive mind is a coordinator and they leave. We saw this with the Eagles and Shane Steichen. We saw this with Brian Daboll, with Josh Allen. Like, this is just it's a story that it's a theme it's recurring more and more and more. Especially we see these young and up and coming offensive minds really being able to take over the offense within a franchise. That's why we call a lot of these guys geniuses, offensive geniuses, because they influence the game to such a massive degree, and they influence the quarterback to such a massive degree that they really, really help bring the best out in a quarterback and minimize their weaknesses. So that's just the way it goes. So for me, it's this season, especially win, go all in. And it's not to say that once Ben Johnson leaves that the Detroit Lions are just done now and they're screwed and they have no chance to win ever again. I'm not saying that. I'm very high on the Detroit Lions and all of the decisions that they're making. It's just that you have this year with Ben Johnson. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. You're all in. Let's go. And I really think they have a chance. I mean, seriously, like I absolutely, to me, I say that I think it's You have the Packers, you have the Lions, you have the 49ers, you have the Eagles. I just think come time playoffs, it's just going to be, who can get the job done? Who minimizes the mistakes? Do you convert that 4th and 3 in the third quarter that then now gets you a touchdown instead of a field goal? Are you able to pin them back on the 1 yard line rather than have it dribble out into the end zone for a touchback? Like, it's going to be all of those little things. It's not going to be the big splash plays. Those will happen, of course, but I think it's going to be who can do the little things and who can minimize the mistakes. Because that's what it often comes down to. That's what it came down to in the NFC Championship game. That's what it came down to in the Super Bowl. That's what it came down to in the Packers versus the 49ers. Who could minimize the mistakes, not who could get the big splash play. If memory serves me correctly, I can't remember a big splash play for the Chiefs. I can't remember a big splash play. I mean, I'm sure they exist, but it wasn't really these game-defining moments. It was who could minimize these things. When the Bills needed a big splash play to beat the Chiefs, they couldn't do it. It was hitting the receiver's hands, right in the hands, and falling to the ground. But that's not necessarily why they lost. It's a contributor that would have helped them. But why they lost was missing a field goal. Like, it's those little things. The Lions absolutely could have taken over that NFC Championship game and then gone into the Super Bowl. And I really believe that they could have punched the Chiefs in the face. I really do. I really, really believe that if we saw the Detroit Lions going up against the Chiefs, that offense was going to be more physical, was going to be very well prepared, and the run game, especially for the Lions, I think would have been able to steamroll the Chiefs in a lot of ways as they struggled. And I think also having a mature veteran of Jared Goff would have gone a long way in the Super Bowl. I don't know how Dan Campbell would have handled a Super Bowl. I mean, for all I know, the guy would have gone for it on every single 4th down. You have no idea. But we know the Lions were able to beat the Chiefs, right? We saw that week 1, right? So we know that it was clearly more than possible, and the Lions only got better throughout the season. So I think this coming season, if you're a Lions fan, you have to have just like the highest expectations, just nothing but pure optimism. You have a perfect balance between a young, up-and-coming team who now has true experience, true not only season experience, but playoff experience. They faced adversity. They know what it's like to win and feel amazing. And importantly, they know what it's like to get punched in the face and lose and feel awful. All of those things really matter. You have Goff. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's had experience. He's had a lot of success. Ben Johnson's growing as an OC. Dan Campbell's growing as a head coach. I think the sky's the limit for the Lions, and I wouldn't really be surprised whatsoever if we have another rematch between the Lions versus the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. And, and then at that point, like I said, it'll end up being a coin flip. Like, who does the little things? Does one of the other teams catch a bad break? Is there an actual pass interference that's called that should have been called? It's all those little things that add up. And as a team, especially when you're going to be as good as the Detroit Lions, your objective is to put yourself in a position to succeed, which I know sounds funny, but you don't put yourself on your back foot. It's like what they kind of talk about just in typical drives. Don't set yourself up for these 2nd and 10s, 1st and 15s. Don't make your job harder for yourselves. And to me, if the Detroit Lions just minimize their mistakes and put themselves in a position to succeed, then the fact of the matter is that I think that they absolutely have a tremendous chance to not only make the Super Bowl, but win the Super Bowl. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Do you have trust in Jared Goff that he could get the job done and he can lead the Lions to a Super Bowl? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.